Welcome Year 5 to day 2 of our reading Peter Pan. Okay, so just a quick recap of the story from yesterday. We were introduced to the Jolly Roger, Captain Hook's ship. It was described as the cannibal of the seas, showing just how dangerous it is. Captain Hook had beaten Peter and had his lost boys in the brig, so remember this is like the prison, ready to walk the plank. And yet, for some reason, he was not happy. So we've got some of our key characters at the bottom here. We've got Captain Hook. Remember, he's seen almost like our villain of the story because he is the enemy of Peter, our main character. Talking of, we've got Peter here, who has been, as we found out, beaten by Captain Hook. And his friends, the Lost Boys, are currently captured and on the Jolly Roger. And then we have this hopeless pirate we met yesterday, Smee, who doesn't come across as your typical pirate. Okay, let's see what today's text is like. Chapter 14, The Pirate Ship. So we're still looking at this chapter from last session. We're on a different page now. They were socially so inferior to him. Now, if you remember the last part of your text yesterday, was talking about his dogs. So it's referring to them here. They were socially so inferior to him. To be inferior means to be less important, less respected, maybe even in this case less intelligent, which makes sense because he can't hold a conversation with his dogs. So the fact that they're socially inferior to him really highlights the fact that he, even though he's in the company of his dogs, he can't have that conversation that he needs or wants. Hook was not his true name. To reveal who he really was, so if you reveal something, it's like you uncover it, it might be a secret, and in this case it's the secret of his true name. To reveal who he really was would, even at this date, set the country in a blaze. That's a really interesting phrase, set the country in a blaze. And obviously a blaze is like a fire, it's a bit like a disaster, causes quite a lot of turmoil and distress. In this case, saying set the country in a blaze suggests there'd be lots of scandal maybe. The country would be quite shocked and surprised that this probably quite famous person has now become Captain Hook, this villain, this pirate, doing all these dangerous deeds and illegal antics perhaps. But as those who read between the lines must already have guessed, he'd been at a famous public school. Okay, so from the fact that he's been to a famous public school, we know he comes from money. Public schools are schools where you have to pay quite a bit of money to attend. They often have smaller class sizes. And you can see from his outfit even, you can see some gold thread and detailing. Now, as I said in our last lesson, this reminded me of almost like a naval costume, someone who in the Navy might wear, which made me think maybe he'd been a Navy officer before becoming a pirate. Again, maybe he's dressing that way just because he wants to look respectable and he's paid a lot of money because he's got this gold thread and this fancy hat and gloves. And its traditions still clung to him like garments. That word clung, something clings on, it means it's kind of holding on, latching on, like garments with which indeed they are largely concerned. Now, garment is something you wear, so your clothes are garments. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we've got question 1 here from your pack, and it says, what still held on to Hook? So again, we've got that word what, we're looking for retrieval again. We're looking for an item or a thing in the text that we can steal to answer this question. So we looked at that word earlier that said clung, which suggested that something was latched on or holding on. So we're going to read around that word to find out what still held on to Hook. He had been at a famous public school, and its traditions still clung to him like garments. So what still held on to Hook? It's the traditions of his famous public school. Okay, fantastic. So nice and quick retrieval question, just to get us warmed up. Let's look at our next question. Okay, so we're looking at question 3 from your pack. Why might revealing who he was set the country in a blaze? So we've got that question, we've got that why question stem here. So we need an explanation, we need some sort of reasoning. And we've got that phrase that we looked at in the talk aloud, set the country in a blaze. If I find it in my text, to reveal who really he was would even at this date set the country in a blaze. Now we discussed what a blaze meant. It's the idea of a fire, destruction, or chaos even. So to set the country in chaos suggests this is quite important. So maybe he's quite an important person. He comes from a famous family even. Maybe it'd be quite unexpected for this particular person to do such bad deeds and be seen as a pirate. We know pirates are often seen in a negative way as villains because they would rob and pillage. So this person is clearly of high social standing or famous, rich maybe his family are in government even, and for him to sound like this would be very negative and cause lots of scandal in the country he's from. Okay, so just to go through some of the vocabulary that you might find tricky, this is also in your packs just to help you. We've looked at this word already, inferior, which suggests something is lower in rank or quality. In this case, the conversation he has with his dogs is inferior to the conversation he might have with another human, which makes sense because the dog can only bark back, whereas a human can use words and ask questions. We've got this fantastic word, grappled, nice verb there in the past tense. It means to engage in a close struggle, almost like a fight or a battle for something. So it might be that Peter and Captain Hook are grappling for victory. And then this word, adhered. If you adhere to something, it means you've stuck to it. So you might adhere to the school rules. I always follow and listen to the school rules. I adhere to them and make sure I'm doing the right thing. The text is tricky, so well done, having a really good go at this. Really proud of how much work you are putting into these packs so far. Okay, I thought just before the end of the session, I'll quickly talk through an extension because it's an extension that had me thinking quite a bit, and I wanted to pose some ideas to you before you answer them. So it says, what is your opinion of Hook and why? Now, to mainly answer this question, I really want you to think about what have you read in the text that creates an image in your mind of Hook. I think that would be the first thing you can do. Look at the parts of the text that suggests whether you think he's a bad character, a good character, a misunderstood character. Now, for those of you that really want to challenge yourselves, I would love it if you could create almost like a mini paragraph, in a way, like almost like a character profile on Hook. Thinking about, is he a villain? What does that word villain even mean? Now, I know I described him as a villain at the beginning. Has my description of him as a villain made you see him that way without even thinking for yourself, maybe? Have I kind of negatively impacted your opinion on him? Do you think he enjoys actually being a pirate? Looking back at that text and talks about the fact that, yes, he's beaten Peter, which is what he's always wanted to do, but is he happy? Does he enjoy being a pirate? Do you think he wants more? And then the really tricky part, I want you to explain whether you think he's a complex character or not. Do you think he's just purely evil? Or are there some underlying qualities of him about being good? Maybe he seeks fame because he comes from a private school and he always feels like he has to be the best at everything. Maybe Peter, even though we described him as the hero, maybe Peter is a nuisance and a rascal. Who knows? I would love to see you try to really critically analyse this character for me, because I think he's quite a deep character and there's a lot behind him that we don't know. It's been fantastic seeing your work coming through so far, so keep it up. This is our final week on pirates, so make the most of it. I'm sure you've got some wonderful activities you can be doing. Have fun, Year 5, and well done from all of the Year 5 teachers for all of your hard work so far. Well done.